your dreams.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm just going to be doing a quick beginner's guide for Aether since the PC version of the game launched very recently. By the way, if you haven't liked the content, just feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Those will be very appreciated. So when you first get into Aether, the first thing you're going to want to do is get to admin level 45 as quickly as possible, because once you get to level 45, that's basically where everything gets unlocked. You'll be able to do your weeklies, your dailies. The grind also starts at admin level 45, as you'll basically have access to the last stages of your supply stages. It's going to be up to you if you want to rush the game or not. The story in this game, I would say, is pretty good, so if you do want to enjoy the story, take your time with it. On the bright side, I think the skip button has like a summarization of the chapter, so you can at least follow the story through that. As for your dailies and weeklies, these are basically your missions that you got to do in order to get the in-game currency, shifted stars, in order to pull for characters. For your dailies, you get 40 stars a day, 280 stars a week. For your weeklies, you can get around up to 1980 stars per week, depending on how well you perform in the game modes. You practically get at least 1 10 pull a week, which isn't that bad, or at least 9.5 10 pulls, depending on how well you do in the end game modes. Dailies are very easy to do in this game. They can at least take up to maybe like 5-7 minutes. Depends how strong your team is, but in the future patch, we are going to be getting a sweep feature for stages. So if you beat a stage before, you'll be able to sweep it just like in PGR. So dailies in the future will probably take like at least maybe like a minute. The bulk of the game is going to be you completing your weeklies. Now, there are a lot of endgame modes in Aether, but you're practically only doing at least 3 of them. 2 of them reset on a weekly basis, while 1 of them resets in a monthly basis. Recurring Dream and the Hazard Zone are going to be the ones that you'll be doing weekly. When you first participate in the Recurring Dream as a newbie, you'll be placed in the beginning difficulty, but as you level up your admin level, you'll be able to choose the difficulty as you please. If you want higher rewards, you'll obviously be choosing the highest difficulty you can complete. Once you choose the difficulty, you can't change it back until the next reset. When you first start the Recurring Dream, you're going to need at least 1 team, 2 teams, and eventually you will need 3 teams. Each boss will have like a specific resistance to a specific element, buffs, debuffs. Each boss will also have a requirement that you need to do in order to get a star. 1 star, you got to clear the stage. 1 star, no more than 1 character is defeated, and another star could be clear in a few amount of seconds. This game mode is very important, especially for new players, because you can get a free character in this game mode named Jinyi, the ninja girl that looks like Kakashi. You can also get character shards in the shop as well, so it's definitely a end game mode that you have to keep up with if you want to strengthen your characters by getting more dupes of them in the shop. The next weekly endgame mode is the Hazard Zone. The buffs and debuffs in this game mode are going to reset on a weekly basis. You can use 1 team in this endgame mode. However, like the Recurring Dream, there is a difficulty selector that you can get. You can select up to difficulty 1 up to 13, and the last difficulty mode is called Omega. By the time you get to difficulty 12, 13, and Omega, you may need multiple teams depending on which buffs that you'll be getting that week. For example, if you have a buff that boosts fire damage, you may need a fire team on difficulty 12, 13, or Omega to have an easier time. You're not going to be unlocking that until way further down the line, so when you're first starting out, you need at least 1 team for this game mode. The shop in this game mode basically gets you sigils that you cannot find anywhere else. If you don't know what sigils are, they're basically like your gear in this game. You also unlock items that help further enhance your sigils as well, so this is a important game mode. Not only is it part of your weeklies, but it does help you strengthen your characters. As I stated earlier, once you're admin level 45, you basically unlock everything. However, I do think once you get to level 35, I believe, you'll be able to participate in events. Not 100% sure, but once you do unlock events, I definitely suggest you start doing them because you do get a lot of freebies that can help you enhance your characters. Also in-game currency for you to summon more characters. How the event farming stages in Aether Gazer work is you basically have two types of stages. Stage 1 is basically where you spend your stamina to do these farming stages, and stage 2 is basically instead of using stamina, you use tokens to do these stages, and you get the tokens from the stamina stages. So once you've used up all your stamina in the stamina farming stages in stage 1, you go to stage 2 and use the tokens that you received from the stamina stages to farm for more of the currency to buy items in the shop. What's interesting about these farming modes in Aether Gazer is that you can use the trial characters. So if you are struggling to farm in these stages, you can at least use the trial characters to help get you an edge. So you don't necessarily have to worry if your characters are under leveled to do the event stages because the game basically gives you trial characters. I also want to remind you that eventually Aether Gazer will have a auto sweep feature for stages, so you don't have to constantly, play the stages over and over and over again. You can basically just auto sweep them eventually, just like in PGR. Now, as for the end game mode that I forgot to mention, which is called the Dimension Variable, this end game mode is very peculiar. For one thing, it's a very grindy game mode. However, you do have 30 days to do it. Number 2, you are forced to use trial characters. This game mode is important to do because the shop basically lets you buy functors, which are the weapons in this game. That especially includes 5-star functors as well. So if there is one in the shop that you want, you definitely have to do this in game mode. The game mode itself is pretty similar to your average roguelike mode. You select a trial character, you select buffs, debuffs, all that good stuff. As for characters that you should build when you first start out, I don't really think it matters. Just pick whoever your favorite character is and just level them up. As for the team members, you can basically pick, whoever your favorite team members are. It's important to invest in whatever character you'll be controlling because that character is going to be doing most of the damage. Whenever you get an S-ranked character that you want from the banners, you can just invest in that character. Meta is not really that important in this game unless you want to be on the leaderboards. There are 6 different factions and 8 different elements in this game. Factions are kind of just there because I think they slightly give a boost to your characters, not to mention some characters from the same faction will have a cutscene together on their burst. As for the elements, you got physical, fire, water, ice, thunder, wind, light, and shadow. Specific enemies and bosses will have weaknesses to specific elements. Meta team comps normally consist of 2 characters of the same faction, one of them being a DPS, the other one probably either a sub or a support, and the third slot could be whoever, maybe another support. I forgot to mention that if you're going to level up a character, level up a character's level up a character's skills, level up their access key, and by the time you get to admin level 45 and start farming for sigils, you can start leveling up sigils, but you want to prioritize the character's level, their skills, and their access key. As for the other 2 characters in your party, you don't really gotta prioritize them right away. Only really start prioritizing them until you get to the end game or if they're constantly dying in the story. Characters also have this thing called codes, which is kind of similar to like a skill tree. Depending on what character you're leveling, you're gonna want a specific code on that character. You got red codes, blue codes, and yellow codes. There is a thing in game which is basically called the cultivation strategy, which basically tells you what other players are doing with that character, what their builds are, what codes they use, etc, etc. So if you do want to know how to build up a character, you can always just look up the cultivation strategy. You can also access your character's training mode. If you do this mode, you do get some stars for in-game currency. You can also learn how to play the character as well. I think the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video is how the gacha works in Aether Gazer. Now, as I said before, at least I think I said before, this game is pretty free-to-play friendly. You can get at least 9.5 pulls a week. There are 5 different banners in Aether Gazer. Don't worry, they are much more simplified than PGR. First banner is the Anchored Precise Scan. You basically get the guaranteed character on rate up at 90 pulls. No 50-50 BS. If you want to gamble with the 50-50, there is the normal precise scan. You basically have to deal with the 50-50 at the 70th pull. You have a directed extended scan, which basically lets you select a specific S rank to be on rate up. You get the guaranteed character at the 40th pull. However, the banner will go away once you get the selected character. I'm not exactly sure if this banner will ever come back, however. You also have just a regular scan, which is basically where all your standard characters will be. You also have the functor scan, which is basically the weapon banner. What's interesting about Aether Gazer is that the weapons in this game, or I guess the functors, are not limited. So even if you don't get a character signature functor right away, you can at least get it later down the line. So you don't have to worry about missing a signature character's weapon due to FOMO, since basically every character or every functor is basically going to be available on the functor banner. I know it's a little confusing that you're seeing like a little toddler on the banner screen, but basically how functors work is that each character has a specific faction and they can only equip the functor of that faction. In the function banner, or on the functor banner, you basically select a faction of what you want, and once you get the toddler on the 70th pull, you basically select which weapon or which functor you want on that faction. Most characters in this game will feel incomplete without their signature functor, but since there's no FOMO BS going on, you can at least take as much time as you want to get their functor. They may feel incomplete now, but if you at least save up, you can get their signature functor. I think that's about it for this Aether Gazer's beginning guide. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys later.